everybody. My dad thinks his podcast is amazing, so please subscribe, give it 5 stars or whatever, and maybe he'll finally stop talking about it. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Sober as Fuck. So as always, before we get started, quick trigger warning. We talk about everything from substance abuse, alcoholism, eating disorders, self-harm, grief, loss, all of the fun things that just make you sink into a deep, dark depression. So if you start feeling some way and you do not like it, go ahead and log off. Make sure that you protect your mental health before anything else. But assuming that you enjoy the podcast and you want to come along for the ride, make sure you share, like, subscribe, comment. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. And the biggest ask is that we have is to share. Share it with your friends, your family, anybody who you think could benefit, because we like to keep our platform free and inclusive, and we want to make sure that we are here for anyone who enjoys our content. Right, Ryan?
Like, subscribe, and share.
Follow.
3 most important things.
Comment.
And follow the fucking podcast. I mean, yeah, why not?
Just click play.
Just click damn play.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we got right here?
So
a little boy smoking a cigarette.
That's
I love
right.
it.
I love this picture. So today we actually have an author on of the sober book. It's The Wild Ride to Sobriety. It's a very real, raw, and there's some very, very funny stories in here as well. I highly recommend it. Whether you're 1 day, 500 days, or sober curious, I think this would be a great book for you to try. So anyway, let's welcome our good buddy in, Ian Fee. What's going on, Ian?
Thank you very much for having me. Super appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Hello.
man. How are you?
Doing fabulous.
So we gotta ask the first thing. So when I first saw this, I mean, obviously the picture is what gets you, right? So you got to give me the story behind the picture.
So I was 8, 9 years old in Bellingham, Washington, and that is a real Marlboro, by the way.
It looks like it.
It's a real Marlboro. It is a real banquet of beer. The picture had to get semi-edited for publishing, but I have 6 shooters on, and the best part of the picture you don't see is I actually peed my pants.
Oh, nice.
True story. Yeah.
There we go. We got the pee story out of it.
Right. How old are you in this picture?
I was probably 8 or 9 years old in that picture, yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, my goodness.
That's old enough to drink and
Yeah,
smoke,
that sounds about right. Yeah, I think I may have a few of those laying around. my dad's old Michelob and Merit cigarettes. So
Yep,
something I'll never forget. God, that's crazy.
That's so funny. It's a great picture, though. I mean, honestly, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect for the book, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was sitting with the kids, and one of them's like, "Oh my gosh, this is the picture," and I was like, "Okay,
All right, we're gonna roll with it.
Okay, let's do that."
Well, let's get into your sobriety. I mean, how did it all start when you decided that enough's enough? I'm fucking done with this shit.
Well, I grew up with it. So, like at the age, there's also a picture in the book of me at the age of 1 taking a sip of beer. It all started there. My parents were pretty social alcoholics. At 13, I was bartending their parties. You know, I started earlier than that. It started, in that picture at 8 or 9. Like, hey, let's dress up our kid and let him be like the little comedian running around here. And at 13, I realized, wow, I could make some money bartending my parents' parties and make sure everybody's drinks are full. And I could remember everybody's drinks. I can remember them today. I was a pretty good athlete in high school. Really didn't dabble a whole lot of booze until college, and then it was like Big Mouth Mickey's, here we come. And then I was in the hotel business, and I realized booze was like a great networking. So man, if there's booze, there's people. So I grew my business and my network in the hotel business. Shortly after that, I got into the car business, which was a whole other world of entertainment and martini lunches, and martini lunches turned into, fancy wine dinners. And then I'd be like, hey, why don't you just come over to my house too on a Tuesday and we'll have more wine and sit in the hot tub and rinse and repeat. And that just wasn't one day a week. That was, I got 2 failed marriages out of this deal too, because I wore him completely out of my drunken oblivion. And I'm thinking I'm building this net worth and this network of people as I'm just destroying everything around me. And in October 2017, the world kind of came to a halt of like, hey, you should probably, and I had all these red flags going off of like, hey, you should probably quit drinking. There's lots of times at NADA functions, it'd be like, I'd be the guy in the hot tub. We got 15 minutes to post and suit up and go look good for everybody at these functions. And I'd be like, hey, one more round. We can do it. It's going to take us 6 minutes to get ready. Don't worry about it. So I had all these red flags and, good friends and vendors like, hey, bro, you might want to slow down a tad. And I was hearing that too from my wife, like, hey, you might want to slow down. So I kind of got nudged, encouraged to go do this pretty intense rehab in Seattle called Schick Shadle. And that was in 2017. And I went in there, for my family, for my business, for my friends, for everybody but myself. I'm going in there to save my marriage. And I don't know, the good Lord on the 3rd day of rehab's like, hey, look in the mirror. Unless you're right, nothing's going to be right. And that really shook me of like, wow, it's kind of true. Of like, okay, I'm doing all this for everybody else. And then I just had this whole mindset shift of like, man, I am going to get my shit right. And unless I'm right, nothing's going to be right. That really resonated with me. So, man, I just came out a new man, which obviously took time. I had to go, I had lots of therapy. I still have a life coach today. But that was life-changing for me, that 3rd day in rehab.
Yeah, Ian, we've got very similar stories because, obviously I'm in the automotive business as well. So yeah, those, it's funny, you think the weekends are your big drinking days. And unfortunately in our business, it's every day is a big fucking drinking day.
Every day.
It's terrible. And I was just like you. I mean, I had the red flags all the time. And the sad thing is I was the one telling myself that, hey, you need to slow down. You need to stop. And it seems like every time I did that, something else would come up. We're going to have this function or this get together, or, we're going to have go out because we had a great month kind of deal. And just, it snowballs and you can't get ahead of it. And like you, I finally realized that I didn't need to quit because of a relationship or kids or anything like that. I needed to quit for me. And I think that's one thing that I see in the recovery world, and I'm sure you have too. When you hear someone say that, I'm quitting because I had a failed marriage or I'm trying to get my relationship back. It's one of those you smile and be like, wow, you just one day, hopefully you'll get it. You can't do it for somebody else. You got to do it for you. And that sounds like exactly what happened with you as well. Same thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy is that, I think there's this huge sober, curious movement going on in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And because I have a lot of people, probably similar to you guys too, of like, there's a lot of people that are super sober curious, or they look at you and be like, well, if you can do it, then how'd you do it? What do you do? Right? Yeah. You get a lot of questions of like, and me, I was 80 pounds heavier in my prime time. I was an All-American. Booze was my superpower, man. I went pro and I just happened to retire a little early. But I was a gold medalist at it. If there was, if you probably have seen me at one of those functions, one of those card functions or one of our vendor events, be like, that guy's pretty funny, but man, he's still going and it's kind of over the top. That's how people looked at me. It'd be like, if there was in a ceiling at a party, man, let's move the ceiling and I could lift it.
That was him.
I'm sure we probably toasted together sometime in our paths crossing, but yeah, it was, it's a different lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So I have a question. So a lot of, we talk about how people usually get sober-ish before they really get sober, because you're right. The first time or two or whatever the situation is, you're doing it just because you want to shut everybody up, or maybe you got in trouble in court or whatever. And people who go to rehab, for the most part, I'm speaking in very, very general terms here, it usually takes going, 2 to 3 times for it to really stick. But it sounds like for you, like you went in at first with that mentality, like you said, like, yeah, okay, I'm doing this because I need to. but something flipped while you were in rehab. And that's a story that you want to hear a lot, but you don't, right? Because you normally hear, well, I went to rehab and then I got out and then I went back. And then the last time they go, they're like, well, this time I went because I wanted to go. So what was that turning point in rehab? Like, what was it that you feel like really clicked with you to realize, like, wow, like I may have come here for everyone else, but I'm staying for me?
Well, this rehab I went to isn't like the traditional AA. They actually induce booze. So if you guys know what Epicac is, it induces vomiting.
Yeah.
So this is a 10-day rehab. So you do 5 days of what we call Duffy days. So, and these Duffy days would be equivalent to kind of like a doctor's office, but where they have all the little trinkets and sticks and gloves is a full bar. And you're sitting next to, your nurse. We call them the bartenders. And in front of you is this ginormous mirror and a silver bowl, which I do not have silver bowls in my house to this day. And they give you you get super hydrated prior to going in there. And then they give you some Epicac, which for me took about 7 to 8 minutes to like, man, I am not feeling great. Then here comes a nice warm glass of salt water to wash her down. And then you're like, I'm not feeling good. And then she starts pouring shots. Anything and everything. From vodka to Bailey's to whiskey to red wine to white wine, you name it. They try to get 18 shots in you. So you take this shot, swish it around in your mouth, spit it out. By then you're vomiting profusely. Well, that's one shot. I got 17 more to go. And you try to get them down, and you're not feeling great at all. So they really get this aversion of like, booze is bad. Put it in your mouth, vomit. It's kind of like the old Pavlov trick. For me, it worked phenomenal. Today, I still have a super high aversion. There's a few times I can still sit in bars and do all that, but sometimes, Fireball will go by or some tequila, and my mouth will water instantly.
Yeah.
That's 8 years later. So this aversion therapy is pretty intense. And they had like a 78% success rate. So
Wow.
I've never really had that desire to go back to it. One, I don't think I could. Like, again, I said, I don't have silver bowls in my house because it's a trigger for me. Like, my mouth is like a dog.
Yeah.
I see a silver bowl and be like, oh boy, here we go. And also, my kids and my closest circle know not to have anything blue, like blue Powerade, blue Gatorade, because that's what you had to go drink a gallon of that shit to be super hydrated before you throw up. So blue Gatorade, Powerade, like walking by a 7-Eleven or a Circle K, be like, oh yeah, here we go. I'm not looking at that because I have an aversion to blue shit.
Wow.
But to answer so it was pretty intense, and you don't feel good. And after you come out of your Duffy room, they put you in just your regular room, no electronics, no nothing. And I remember sitting at the end of the bed, there was a clock. And you're just, for an hour and a half, you're just getting all this out of your system. And a nurse would come in every 10 minutes and check your, oxygen level and check on you and make sure you're not passed out. And then about an hour and a half, feel like you're turning the corner of the worst hangover you've ever had. And here they come with this another 16 ounce of Epicac and wash her down with another 16 ounces of warm salt water. And you keep going for another hour and a half. And you're just absolutely gassed. I lost 13 pounds in that rehab. Now, granted, that was a large marge going in. But
yeah, I was going to say, I read that in the book. I've never heard of that before. And I had to read it again. I was like, holy shit.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Talk about an intense way to sober you up. Oh my God.
It worked. And it recently closed, I think probably 5, and it sits in Washington, a pretty liberal state, where they're like, oh, that's pretty inhumane. But, hey, the success rate was phenomenal. I think success rate in AA, which I think is a great program, is like 20%. So their success rate was phenomenal. But long story to get back to like what happened on that third day of like going in there for everybody else and not me. It was like not seeing the light, but like I literally felt like the good Lord touched me on the shoulder and was like, hey, you need to do this for you. Like, I kind of knew that, but I didn't know that of like, because I'm such a people pleaser. that it was like, oh, my wife and my kids and my business and my closest circle. And like, I don't want to disappoint anybody. And that touched me. Like I can feel it, like literally touched on the shoulder and be like, hey, it's on you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that a lot as like, hey, it's on you. And if you're not right, nothing's right. And that was like, I got goosebumps talking about it. That was life changing for me. And it was like this just overwhelming of like, wow, the clarity, you know, and it's only 3 days into rehab. I don't think I had all the clarity in the world yet, but I had clarity of like listening to like, yeah, you're right. It's on me. And I'm doing this for me, and I'm going to become the best version of me out of this deal. And then, you know, 7 days later, I got served papers. And that was a big pivotal point. I got out on Halloween, going to go take our daughter trick-or-treating, drive home from rehab, get served papers. Okay, you ready to go take the kiddo trick-or-treating? It was like, that was a big pivotal point of like, I could go back and start drinking again. You know, the damage was already done. So it was like, I was still going to fight for it, but I really kind of knew like, man, I had so much collateral damage. There was not a whole lot of probably saving this. But it was a big pivotal point of like, I could go back and start drinking again and just, you know, screw it. But I had that mentality of like, hey, it's on me, and I'm going to go prove to me that I can go do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, man.
And that's a lot of accountability
Big
too,
time.
you know, because we were struggling with substance or mental health, because it all is under the same umbrella. The easiest thing to do is to exist in that victimhood, right? And that's something that I see too, is, you know, you very easily could have gotten out and been like, but I went, and now I'm not drinking anymore. Like, I'm sober. Like, you're not even going to give me a chance. But the fact, I mean, that's huge. You after a week, you get out and you're like, listen, I get it. I get
Total
it.
accountability.
Like, I divorced me too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and it really is like, sobriety is a divorce from your previous self. Like, people joke, but I call him and his drinking days my ex-husband. So it's like a joke, you know? I'll be like, God, my ex-husband was such a fucking asshole. And he's like, yeah, I hate that guy, man. He's costing me a lot of money, you know? Like, just because it's true. You know, you got to find the humor in it, but it is. It's a whole different version of yourself. And I love how you said that, like, even though you got out and you were served papers, that acceptance because you were doing it for you. And you talk about this too, Brian. Like, of course you don't want to lose your family or get divorced. Like, I feel like that's given. But sobriety, clarity, recovery only works if you're like, listen, I don't have control over what has already happened. I can't go back and change anything. And I don't have control over anyone else outside of myself. So all I can do is acknowledge and take accountability and move forward. And regardless if I end up homeless tomorrow or in a mansion, I'm still going to do the same things, and I'm still going to be the same person. And until then, I think a lot of people are like, how did you get sober? Well, the first part, even before you put the drink down, normally is you got to you're right. I love that. You know, if you're not right, nothing's right. Like, you have to get your mind right. Because if you're just doing it for everybody else, then once everybody else shuts up about it, you're going to be like, well, now I can just start doing whatever again.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty strong. And all in a week. Like, talk about, like, anybody who asks you, like, what's been the toughest week of your life? Like, I know, I can tell you what Ian's tough week was. Man, that is intense.
Yeah, and it sounds like it was a week, but it's been, 7 years. And I think I wake up every day like, how can I be better every day? And that was just a great jump start or awakening for me. And then it's just been stacking baby habits all the way. And there's, a lot of therapy, I really, I live and breathe by, like, you have to forgive your younger self. You have to believe in your current self and create your future self. And I had to do a lot of forgiveness, because I was the loud, rude, vulgar, thinking I'm funny. And, the next morning be like, oh, shit, did I text that? Oh, no.
You guys like twins? Are you guys the same person?
We car guys.
We might be brothers from another mother. You never
That's
know.
Right. You never know.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I feel like I'm like talking to two different versions of my husband. Ian, are we married? No, I didn't know.
We might be. It might be a TV reality show.
Oh my goodness.
And there's just
Seriously.
so many regrets
Yeah.
that it's so refreshing not to have that. Like, so it consumes so much. Be like, you're in this fog and you're hungover and you're like, oh, I got to go work today. I got a client luncheon at 1, and be like, I just got, I just kicked people out of my house at 2. That hopefully he showed up to go, do his finance deals at 9. And then I'm taking his dealer out at 1 for happy hour. Meanwhile, I got a text be like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry. I told your wife she had really good looking boobs, and like the stupidest, craziest, vulgar shit." And I'm thinking, "Ha, that's pretty funny, right?" And there's this huge circle that I had that would be like, "Oh, it was fine. It's fine." Well, no, it's not fine.
Mm-hmm.
It may sound fine, but there is shit that people, say, or we heard as kids, or that I'm certainly said to people, that is burned into their brain. There are words that you can never, ever, 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 ever get back. And I don't miss those one bit of all those regrets of, sober texting, sober, emailing. I mean, like, just the stupidest stuff would come out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't miss those.
Yeah, me either. That's for sure. So it's been 7 years. How have you maintained over the 7 years? What, I don't know if you're working a certain program or what you've been doing to maintain your sobriety.
Yeah, I haven't been to, and I know a lot of guys that have been to AA. My biggest thing is my circle, and I talk a lot about that. And I think, maybe in the near future or down the road, I'd love to write a book about my core 4. It's kind of like the old saying of like, show me your friends, show me your future. Yeah. And who you run with is where your direction's going to go. Mm-hmm. And I got such a massive core 4 that are, my ride or dies. They, as soon as I got out of rehab, served papers, guys were on jets, because my core 4 don't live close to me. My core 4 is one's in Oregon, one's in St. Louis, LA, Arizona. I mean, I had those 4, which really is 8 because their spouses are equally to them. They were my support, go-to. There was nothing off limits. We could laugh together. We could cry together. We could be super emotional together. They were always constantly checking in on me. So that was kind of like my AA was my core 4. The gal I'm with today, she's never seen me drink. She chuckles at some of the stories when, because my core 4 has been with me in the drunk rowdy days and my wild ride to my sober journey. So I can still sit in bars. I can still, go party with the best of them. I'm just not drinking. I can still go push booze and buy shots for everybody and be the life of the party. I feel like $1 million at 5:30 when I'm at the gym and be like, well, I was just at NADA this last year. I'm at the gym. People are hungover. Be like, let's go get Bloody Marys at 7:38 in the morning. Be like, no problem. Let's go. Because that doesn't bother me. But I do have a lot of people that are like sober curious of like, because they see me 80 pounds heavier and drink like a baboon. And they've seen me have Bloody Marys at 7 in the morning and then have to go speak at 9. Just the curiosity of people. But when they're ready, and I don't push people to not drink. I could give 2 shits if you drink or don't drink. If you're curious about my story, I have no problem sharing it. Or you want some advice? One of my sons at my book launch party is like, hey, can you give me some advice of like, and he's super sober curious and the sweetest kid, but his circle is his problem. They drink, booze, smoke weed, play video games, no life direction, no goals. And I'm like, bro, you want some advice? Change your circle. And it's going to be really, really uncomfortable, but you have to get out of your circle. And until you're out of that circle, nothing's going to change. That's my advice to you.
100%.
I love that because that was one thing that I had to do, and that was.
I think everybody in recovery, anybody I've seen has had to do that. I even know people who have packed up and moved all the way across the country. My brother did that. Yep. He was in active addiction for 20 years, and when he got sober, and he was trying to figure out where he wanted to land. We grew up in Texas, and so he chose Texas because he was like, that was the last place I could remember being the most authentic, clear version of myself. And he swears now, he's like, I'll never move out. Like, I am my happiest, clearest self here. And you're so right, because it's about being way more intentional of where you spend your time, where you place your energy, and what sort of information you are taking in too. Because that's part of sobriety. Again, like, you're always going to run into situations and people who make you feel a certain way, but you don't have to exist there, and you don't have to surround yourself with that. And I think a lot of people struggle too with, when you're talking about changing circles, it doesn't have to be this like, oh, ew, you're gross, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. It's not a good or bad, right?
Right.
It is simply I'm evolving and changing, and these relationships aren't good for either of us. So I have to prioritize myself. We have family going kind of through similar things where the want to get better is there, the need, you can feel the urgency, but without the change in environment and those external relationships, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
You know, it's you're right. You have to dive head first into this completely other world, and it's lonely at first. You know, that we talk a lot about community. You know, your core four, that's your community. But you find that once you get into it, right? Like, people say, you know, well, no one's helping me, I don't have anybody to lean on. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you get to the other side of it, it's a solo journey, and then the community finds you because you are navigating yourself in such a way that it, you know, like attracts like. And we've had that too, going out and just bringing up sobriety or your sober as fuck shirt on, and someone being like, oh my gosh, I've been sober for like 4 years. Good job. And it's that instant connection. That's how you find that. But yeah, that like jumpstart. So like anybody, you know, you talk about having your core four and having to change and all of that. Anybody who's struggling and just having that first sort of trying to break away from it, what seemed to help you? What seemed to make that less isolating? Because I think that also is people who are ready to get sober. It's that initial, I have to change everything, and it can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's okay to outgrow relationships, right? It's like I'm got great brothers, but I got one that I'm okay seeing once a year, right? Just not in my circle. So I've outgrown a lot of relationships. And like you said, with, you know, I got a good energy and a good vibe, and like, you attract that when you're out and about. And, you know, I'm out and about, and I'm meeting and networking people. And I'm very cautious now of like how important your circle is in your tribe, that you also want to protect it. Like, you're just not letting anybody into this circle. Right? You got to be very, and I'm so much more aware of that. It was like, before I could have a text going and I could have a party at my house with 26 people in 10 minutes in a hot second. Today, I'm like very protective of like, oh yeah, I'm not sure I really want this person in my group, right? Because of whatever, the energy, the vibe, their drive, their passion. Not that they're a bad person by no means. It just doesn't fit my energy and my drive and my passion. So that, again, that tribe and that circle is so important. And my kids have been just, you know, amazing through this whole process, which I actually had them write stories, right? Their experiences in the book, which is very emotional. Just having that people in your life, that it's really a mindset of like, is this good for me mentally, right? Not physically, because booze just, you know, was a great poison. And it, you know, if I wasn't numbing myself for 30 years, where I would have grown my business to what I sold it for in 2016, I think it would have been 10x, to be honest with you. A lot of people are like, hey, how would you think you've been not drinking? 100 times better, 100 times more focused, of just, you know, wasted days, wasted vacations with kids, because it was more important to go sit in the pool and drink and on the beach and be like, do we really have to go ziplining? Like, I want to get fucked up on the beach. Of just those different priorities and being present. Being present's a big buzzword for me. lately because I was a party dad. I had the RV, which was like a mobile bar for all my kids' sporting events, and everybody in the stands had red Solo cups because I'm making drinks for everybody and Bloody Marys and red beers, and then the day game would we're on the menus we're going to have vodka sodas with orange slices. I was so worried of I was in the stands and I was there at my son's game and daughter's games, but I wasn't present. I was more worried about everybody else having a cocktail as my kids are really good athletes playing right behind me. So again, I had to release a lot of that forgive myself for a lot of that. And my relationship with my kids today, I think, is phenomenal.
Yeah, yours is like that. Y'all are seriously the same person. This is like eerie. Like it's freaking me out. It's freaking me out. Because we've obviously started taking sober vacations and we have revisited places we've been to. So like we took our daughter to Disney World like 2-3 times a year forever. And we've backed down on it over the past couple years just because she's 14, but we still try to go once a year. And when we started going back after he was sober, there would be like certain situations or certain things and he would react to them. And of course, I can't think of a specific one off the top of my head, but you know where I'm going with this. Like it was the first time and I'm like, babe, we do this every time we come here. And he's like, we have never done this. And Lily's like, Dad,
yes,
we do this every year. And he's so like, nuh-uh. Or like eating around the world at Epcot. He's like, oh my gosh, this is new this year. I'm like, that has literally been there since she was 3 years old. And he's like, whoa. And, at first it's funny, but there have been a couple moments where I've really seen it, like in those moments, seen it really just like suck the energy out of you because it's just a moment where you're right. You have that sadness of, oh my gosh, like I've really been doing doing the same thing for 10 years. And like, what else do I not remember? And we have conversations like that a lot where even now I'll say, do you remember when? And he's like, honey, I don't, and just being very honest. But the good news is we're building so many fantastic memories that those old ones, it's not that they go away, but they're just not as big of a deal anymore because the memories we're building through sobriety, they're so much better. I mean, it used to be that he would stay up so late in the hotel room, just hammering beers, and he would want to watch TV or sports, and we would end up fighting. So I'm like, if you don't fucking lay your ass down and go to sleep, I'm going to like lock you out of the room, And now he's the one like, oh my gosh, turn the TV off. No more say yes to the dress. You and Lily need to go to bed. And he's like getting up at 5:30 in the morning and he's like, let's go. And I'm thinking, I'm on vacation. Let me sleep, But that's how it should be, right? Like that's how it's supposed to be. Like it's so much better. And just to speak selfishly, and you brought this up, I think a couple episodes ago where you said that vacations for me must be better too. Mm-hmm. And they are, because anytime we would go out or have friends over or go to a sporting event or go on vacation, there was always this anxiety inside of me where it's like, I would be gauging how much you were drinking. And I'm like, okay, he's getting to that point where I know that the night's about to turn. And so I would stop drinking. You'd be like, why don't you have a beer? And I'm like, well, I have a headache or I'm just really tired or, I'm fine. And he's like, no, get another beer. And so most of the time I'd order one, but I'd nurse it, and really what it was is I'm like, I have to be sober enough to navigate the rest of this. So it was never really a vacation. So I think my favorite part too is like traveling in the memories and sobriety. It's so incredible. It's so incredible because you really divorce yourself from who you were and you are a completely different person. Like the things you like, the things you do, the way you speak to yourself and others. It's unbelievable. I don't know anybody who has regretted getting sober.
Yeah. Nothing good came out of booze for me. Nothing good. As much as I thought it did, as much as I thought it was my superpower.
Yeah, same here. I mean, my biggest thing with, vacations and stuff like that is I bring it up all the time is the people watching, because you see yourself in that drunk idiot over there. And then that's when it really hits me is I'm like, damn, I used to do that shit. That was me, really. I
Mm-hmm.
did that. And then you just, wow, the recollections kind of come back of, wow, yeah, I kind of do remember that now. It's just, God, it's fucking terrible. Thinking of all the shit I ruined, especially vacations or times with friends, family, holidays, things like that. It's like, damn, man, I feel like I wrecked everything.
And money spent too. You
Yeah,
think
money
about how
spent.
much money you
Oh
spend on
my.
booze when you're at home, let alone when we would travel. Oh my gosh.
It's insanity.
Like, well, we got to, account for the drink package and wherever
That's
we're
right.
staying, we got to make sure we have like a refrigerator and all this stuff. I mean, it's unreal when we started
that's bad.
calculating alcohol on vacation too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I would be the guy too of like I'd meet Jimmy and Bob and Margaret at the bar and be like, hey, they're really nice people. Can we get them around too?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in Hawaii they're $14 drinks. Before you know it, I'd have $1,000 bar tabs and be like, whew, that was fun. Not really.
Not really.
It's like that moment in what is
the
it?
hell did I get out of that?
40-year-old version where he was like, hey, it's great. It's $8 beer night. That's cheap,
Yes.
It's like you convince yourself, It's like, oh my gosh, this is a cocktail. It's only $10. Like, let me have 4 of them. And it's like, that's not cheap.
I remember because it was Masters weekend this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was chuckling with one of my buddies. So there was a bar here in Kirkland called Hector's. It's not there anymore. But 10 years ago, I spent breakfast, lunch, dinner there with a good buddy of mine. From about 9 to my wife picked me up at 10 p.m. And drunker than Cooter Brown, and we're betting every putt and $1 here. Is he going to, $2? Is he going to be in the fairway? And it started with, I think we started with vodka OJs to red beers to vodka sodas to like that kind of got boring. Let's go to scotch. I think I had about every liquor there, and clearly you got to close with steak and red wine. And it was like, man, that was just a wasted day. Like it sounded fun at the time with your buddy and like away from your kids and your wife. And it was like, I look at that today and be like, well there's one day that I'll never get back.
Never get back. Yeah.
Never get back. And I had thousands of those, years of those added up over 35 years of boozing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't miss the wasted days.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, the last vacation we went on, we stayed at this new like hotel resort thing, and they didn't have their liquor license yet. And so they were just giving out beers for free.
First time I've ever seen that before.
And,
wow.
Oh my goodness. And he told me, he's like, no, they're giving them out for free. And I was like, why would anybody do that? Like, this is like a family resort. Like, oh my gosh, someone's going to drown. And I went up to the bar just to get like drinks for the kids and waters for us or whatever. And I'm standing there, and of course it's super busy because they're like free beer,
free whatever they have.
They're probably calling their friends being like, it doesn't even matter if you're staying here, like, free beer. And this dad comes up to the bar, and he's got like 4 little kids, and he looks exhausted. And I had drink tickets, and I knew they probably weren't going to use them for regular drinks, but I thought, well, I'll ask, never hurts. And she's like, oh, that's just for alcohol. We're not, we're giving the beer away for free today, so it doesn't matter. And he's like, yeah, what a rip. They're giving them away for free. So I don't even know why they gave them out. And he was like complaining about them not having their liquor license. And I was like, well, I don't drink, so I don't really care. And it looked like I just sucked the life out of him. You know what I mean? Like he looked but I remember thinking like he looked so exhausted, so tired. His kids are running around, climbing on him. And I'm like, I'm going to take my slushies and my water, and I'm going to go play Marco Polo in the pool. You enjoy being half drunk with your children screaming for you. Have fun with that. Like that sounds horrible, but it's a misery of your own making because
it's a choice.
Well, and also like in movies and everything, we see like mommy wine culture is a huge thing. Like, oh my God, mommy's earned this glass of wine. And even with like dads, like, oh my gosh, the old ball and chain, and you all this. Well, yeah, everybody's going to be annoying when you're half drunk all the time. And then you get sober and you realize, like, you know, your family gets on your nerves still sometimes, but you're like, man, my kids are actually fucking fun. Like, it's actually kind of fun to throw water balloons and be ridiculous and really like enjoy those moments and swim and go on roller coasters and all that shit before that you didn't want to do. You're like, man, this is fun. You
Yeah.
really start living in those moments and you're like,
You start
gosh.
thinking about when the next drink's going to come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're sitting there going, let's get some popcorn and cotton candy and let's go see a movie. I mean, it is. It's like you're a kid again, you know, you're like, I want to do all the things
Oh yeah.
sober. And it's exciting. Like it really, you almost do divert to more of like an infantile state in all of the best ways because your imagination comes back.
Sure.
You're like, hell yeah, I want to go see a cartoon. That sounds fucking awesome. And it
Yeah,
is.
you're not living in this cloud or numbing whatever you need to deal with. It's like you said, it's fun. It's fun to go to these movies. It's fun to, you know, go have popcorn and take your. I got a 14-year-old daughter and go to a movie theater. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Where before you'd be like, I'm not fucking.
That's right. Unless
Yeah.
there's something very loud.
Can't we put on something on Netflix or something?
That's right.
Well, he's the one trying to pull us out. He's like, let's go get ice cream. Let's go see a movie. Let's go do this. And people are like, oh my goodness, like
I don't
calm down.
stop. So what got you to actually write the book? What was it that got you to do it?
So, funny story. We were sitting at a work function in Irvine, and three of us, two of my other closest four circle, were sitting at this bougie-ass bar, just on a lunch break. And right next to us is this table, martinis, kind of getting loud, looked really fun. Be like, man, you remember those days? We reminisced about some stories, and one of the guys is like, we should write a book. And I'm like, we should write a book. And then one of the guys is like, hey, I know a ghostwriter. I live in Arizona. He's a really nice guy. So it kind of started there. And the book actually started with three and ended with me. Because some of them didn't want their stories out there. They're a little worried about kids and work and whatever. But a lot of it is in there to attribute to them. And it took about 17 months. Kind of always wanted to write a book. In the back of my head, I wasn't sure it was going to be about my drunken oblivion and being completely naked out there, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started there. I got this awesome ghostwriter because if I would have wrote the book, it would have had 47 pages of pictures and about 6 words because I caveman text, I caveman write. You probably saw in some of my emails, be like, what did he say? Is he coming or is he not?
That's right.
So I had a really good ghostwriter and spent, days and weeks and met my family and really got to know me and put the story into, a good, easy read. I didn't want chapters, so it's a little unique that way. There's snippets of stories and just kind of my journey and really learning to forgive yourself and really look in the mirror and be completely honest with yourself is like a turning point of, and it was so therapeutic to write a book. So if you haven't written a book, I highly recommend go write a book together because you guys would absolutely crush it. And there's people are like, well, why do you want to write a book? It'd be like, well, my purpose is to go make a difference in the world. And I'm doing it through this book and through my journey and my debauchery. And if somebody read this, and I've had thousands of people reach out to me of like, it made an impact on it. So it really warms my heart of making that impact and silently making an impact on people in my circle and my family. But the therapeutic part of it, of just releasing it all. I always laughed at these little old ladies, and my dad at 95 would write in a journal every day for the 30 years. And I write in a journal every goddamn day now since, for the last 6 years, like a little old lady. But it's so therapeutic of just getting it out on paper. And a lot of mine is just gratitude. I've really learned gratitude over the last 4 or 5 years of really appreciate just where you're at, what you got, who you have, and just be thankful, right? We always achieve I want a nicer house, a nicer car, and a nicer this, and I want more in my 401k, and I want to have a bigger vacation for my kids, or I want to buy my kids a house. And be like, how about you appreciate what you got now? It's okay to have those goals, but don't get clouded by those. I was so focused on my career and building a business and I thought I was doing it, and I thought booze was my superpower of doing that. And I was just so driven of like, I gotta have more, I gotta have more, I gotta have more, I gotta make sure everybody's good. And I never enjoyed the journey. Like, I went into pretty deep depression in Las Vegas when my wire transfer went through when I sold my company. And I was still drinking. And it was over. For me, it was just this, like, it's over. Game's over. Like, now what? And I went really flat. I drank even more, and super bad depression, super negative thoughts, to where now it's like, it's all about the journey. I don't want the end. I want the journey, because I really appreciate the journey now in what I'm doing and with my kids and with the book. It's like, you know, I don't want that journey. That's the experience of being on these, and the people you get to meet is phenomenal, and you appreciate those moments before, like, well, I need to hang up and I need to go do another podcast and have this volume of like, man, these moments are just so precious, and you got to appreciate every moment of them, which I didn't have before. I wish I would have, because I think I'd be, you know, a way better dad back then, and all those, but I had to forgive myself for that. So being present, writing this helped me through all kinds of different stuff, forgiving myself, the therapy of writing, forgiving my parents. You know, I think everybody has some sort of kid trauma or domestication. Obviously, in the front page of my book, I got a cigarette and a smoke at 9. Like, in today's society, that'd be like child abuse. You know, in the 70s when I was growing up, there was no seatbelt, windows rolled up, smoking, parents drinking and driving. Be like, that was normal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love that too, because it shows, it's a great representation of, it's all about when you know better, do better, right? Like, don't harp on the things that you fucked up in the past. Even if you fucked them up a million times, like, okay, well, when you know better, you do better. And we teach this even on a fundamental level to like our daughter, right? Like, we have a 14-year-old daughter too. So she'll be going to high school this fall. And she really struggled in middle school, you know, because middle school fucking sucks. And middle schoolers are fucking assholes. And
They're
school's
mean.
hard. They're mean. They're mean, and they're hormonal. And, you know, I feel like middle school, nobody is ever like, man, I'd go back to middle school tomorrow, you know? And so we tell her, like, it's easy to take an A or a win or a trophy. Like, that's easy. Maybe earning it might be hard, but the win and the successes, you know, everybody talks about those all the time. We have ceremonies. There's, you know, plasters on the wall of people who donate money, and, you know, that's always celebrated. I said, you know what's not easy is fucking up and then picking your face up off the floor and trying again. And what's not easy is literally working your ass off and it's still not working out the way you wanted it to, or still, and I'm going to call it failing, but I don't see it as failing, but for all intents and purposes, like failing and continuing to fail over and over again, trying different things until you finally figure it out. Because, you know, I love that about your book is, life is made up of micro goals. Like, yes, of course, there are goals you want, right? Like, you don't just want to like wing it. I mean, if you do, that's fine. There are a lot of happy people who wing it and do travel and whatever. Like, there's no right or wrong. But there are micro goals, if it's business, house, whatever. But those, the intention behind those goals should never be some sort of tangible object. It should be, I want a house because I want stability. I want a home. I want a place where I can like raise a family. Or if you're single, like, I want a home where I can feel safe and I can have something that I've created. Like, it's never the tangible thing. And you're right. Like, there is no end, because there is no end. There is no, the secret sauce is there's no destination. There's actually no big goal. And they talk about this too in, Atomic Habits, right?
Yep.
Your destination, your goals, they change when you're on the journey, and they're supposed to. So your goal may be this, but then as you discover yourself, it evolves and changes. So it's, you know, if anybody's listening, which, you know, there are, The secret is there is no destination.
That's right.
The reason you want to enjoy the journey is because that's all you have.
Yeah.
The destination is death.
That's
Like
right.
that is
The
the
end is the
only
end.
that is the only guarantee in life is that you like are going to take a breath and then you're going to stop taking a breath. Like that's it. So you're absolutely right. Like it's fine if money or whatever is important to you, but it's the destination or the journey to get it there. That's something that Ryan had a hard time with too. Like we built our house in 2022 and we've always wanted a pool, right? And I, even though I looked at him because I'm a real estate agent, I'm like, okay, a pool, it's not an investment. It is an expensive toy that you will never recoup your money on. Like, and if you want to do that, that's fine. I do not shame people what they spend their money on. It does not matter, right? But I'm like, that's it. Well, when we moved in, as all things are, like it got pushed back. They were supposed to start building here, and then it was 6 months and this. And he was still drinking at the time. He just could not stop to enjoy the fact that like we just built this beautiful home and our daughter got to help us pick out like everything. She got to help us pick out the paint colors and the floor and where her room was going to be. And, like not even the house itself, but like I have a picture of her standing on the lot and she's like adorable and progress pictures, and our furniture hadn't even come in yet. So I think we had like a couple of fold out chairs sitting there because, we bought new furniture. So you want to get rid of the old stuff so you don't have to move it, but the new stuff hasn't come in yet. And when I'm like sitting there and you're pacing, drinking, and I remember looking at you and I'm like, just look around you. Like, look at what we built together. And this isn't like, even if the pool doesn't happen, who gives a shit? Like this is awesome. And he's like, no, it's supposed to this, that, or another. And it wasn't until you got sober that you realized like, it's enough. Mm-hmm. Like there's a beauty in saying like, yeah, there's still things I want to do, but my life right now, it's enough as far as quantity goes. The quality of yourself can always be better, but the quantity, like, this is great. Like you could live this existence for the rest of your life. And you know what? It would be great. And I also think that this journey to sobriety, and it sounds like in your book, it's more than just about alcohol or substance, right? It is about recognizing the difficulties of the overall human experience and having compassion for yourself and other people and learning that people are not all good and bad. Mm-hmm. Nothing is ever, there's this huge gray area, and having compassion. That's why like you putting these stories down in your book, it's like, listen, we're all out here just trying to survive. Okay. And in the end, we just die. Okay. And there's debt and there's all these things. So laugh at the shit that you fucked up and be a better person and recognize that life is hard even for everyone who seems like the stars align. And I love that. That's why we created this podcast. It's a series of everyone's short stories, and you pour your heart out. But at the end of the day, like it always ends with a laugh. Mm-hmm. We've cried on the podcast, but it always ends with appreciation of being in these moments. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about it too.
100%. Mm-hmm. Well, Ian, before we get you out of here, and I love the book. I love the stories. But we always ask all our guests at the end, there's got to be one funny-ass story, even if it's not in the book.
Drunken
story. See if you want to dig deep for one. If it involves peeing, that's okay. I know you gave that away earlier about the picture, which I think is fucking hilarious. But if you got a good one to dig up and tell us, please do.
For example, we've had stories of like shitting in the street, okay, like peeing on people's personal items, nudity, peeing on stage in a concert in front of thousands of people.
Well, since you guys like the pee theme, I have one. It's in Lake of the Ozarks. I'm with my closest circle. And Lake of the Ozarks, they do these boat races, and it is packed. There's thousands and thousands of these badass offshore boats, and there's all these bars. There's 52 bars on this lake. And they all have bands, and they're just massive and big swim-up pool bars. So me and my buddy on his boat, it's just the two of us. We're at this bar called Lazy Gators, and there's this bathroom, and the stalls are really high, right? A guy could be peeing, which I was, and drunker than God knows what. I'm peeing, and I've been in the water, so I've been in the water a lot, so it was not the warmest water. So I'm peeing, and I'm kind of turtling a lot. And this poor bastard in the stall next to me is just getting splashed on while he's pooing. And he's banging, like, hey, motherfucker! And I'm like, I get scared, and I'm like, oh, he is mad. So I go out of the bathroom. My buddy's waiting for me outside, and we're running. I'm running. He's like, hey, why are we running? I'm like, I just over this biggest, meanest guy, and I think he's coming. And he's like, well, okay, I guess we're going to the boat. And I never looked back. I had no idea if this guy was coming after me. I didn't care. I knew he was big, and he sounded really mean, and I just pissed all over him, and we had to go. So that's the drunken funny lake story that I have about the beach story.
I think one of my favorite parts of that story is that you're running and your buddy is just running, and mid running he's like, why are we running?
Why are we doing this?
That's a friend. Like
that's my close circle. Yeah.
I'm like, that is the close circle. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Everybody has to have those.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Ian, are there any takeaways, anything you want to leave with everybody before we say goodbye?
Man, just look in the mirror and say, it's on me. No matter what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to lose weight, trying to be a better person, trying to, learn a different language, whatever the case may be in your life, you want to be a better mom, business owner, whatever, your relationship, you have to look in the mirror. And what I learned a lot in rehab is it's on me. Whatever is going on in the world and this blame game, and I hate excuses, and I hate people that don't have accountability, is like the biggest thing. Look in the mirror and be like, whatever it is, it's on me. That's what I think.
Awesome. Well, again, the book is Wild Ride to Sobriety. The author's Ian Fee. It's available, I know, on Amazon. Where else is it available, Ian?
Amazon. That's
Amazon.
one
Okay.
only. Yep.
Gotcha.
Or if you reach out to me, text me, email me, I'll ship you one.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Ian, well, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Great.
We really appreciate it.
I can't thank you guys enough for having me and keep doing what you guys are doing.
My husband's doppelganger.
That's right.
My doppelganger.
Don't click
We're new
off.
besties.
That's right. Ian, hang tight for just a second. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to get
Boom.
notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.